Win or Lose by Wayne Dobson and Alan Wong. Is it a win or is it a lose? I can only apologise. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Win or Lose by Wayne Dobson and Alan Wong. So this is a cool kind of bank night style effect where you have the chips out and there's different words on them and the person makes bets, winning and one of them's a winner, all the rest of them are losers. So that's the trick we're going to be talking about today. So let's start off with, when you order Win or Lose, what you get. If you order Win or Lose by Wayne Dobson and Alan Wong, what you get is this little pouch here. It comes in the box that you saw earlier, and inside here you get 6 little chips, I guess you call them, a little placeholders. So I'll show you them here. So this is one of them here. So you get this one and you get another one. So when you're going through this, the idea of the game is that the spectator gets 5 ones with lose, and the magician is left with the one that says win. Just make sure you can see that there. So lose and win. And then on them there's different words. So there's like nothing, something, this, that, yours, mine. Those are the things you can do. So with the presentation, you can do all that sort of stuff. So you get this. You also get a little thing to help with resetting. If you know what you're doing, you get that little thing comes with it. And the bit to make sure that you always win. So that's what you get if you order this. You get a nice little pouch. Pouch is nice, like fabric pouch. You can keep everything in this, ready to perform. Everything's together. You get all the pieces you need. And you get access to the instructions. So now let's go on and talk about the instructions. The instructions for Win and Lose are quite interesting because you get a 5-minute video and a PDF. The video, they go over the basic handling of the routine, what you need to do to make it work, all the moves that you need, and it's kind of just rushed through the presentation. So there's no like live performance footage or anything like that. It's just straight to camera. This one is an over the top view as well in kind of a virtual studio. So I'll walk through what you need to do, how to do it. Quite basic. Going through there is a bit of an assumption that you have some performance experience in that sort of explanation, because things I've mentioned where only a performer who knows what they're doing would really know what's going on there. So it's quite a quick overview instructions, not a lot of detail, not a lot of performance footage or presentation ideas, anything like that. That's where the PDF really comes into view. So if you get the PDF, those are the fully laid out instructions, where it's broken down performance with the script and all the jokes that you can use and all those other things as it's laid out. Bit of history on the product as well by Wayne and all that sort of stuff. So that's the instructions itself. I think the PDF is where the real detail is, and the video, it's a bit rushed. There's not that much to it, but it's handy just to get an idea of the routine as well and see someone moving it. It would be nice to see some over the shoulder angles or like some close-ups of the move that you need to do to get it. Because I think this could be a trick that could have worked nicely for a beginner, but there's like assumptions that you know what you're doing in the instructions for this. So that's my opinions on the instructions. So now let's move on to the next question, which is it difficult? Win or Lose, I wouldn't say it's a difficult trick. It's not something that's overly complicated. There is some sleight of hand in there. You have to be able to do some palming and a move, and there's a bit of heat on you when you're doing that move. So that you do want to practice it. It's not something that's incredibly easy, like self-working, straightforward. Something I think in the instructions is kind of like, oh, it's so straightforward, you just do it and it's done. But I think it's not as easy maybe as like you might first think. There's a bit of finessing, there's a bit of practice that's required. With every trick there's a bit of practice, but I think with this that you want to make sure that you have your timings right, that you've misdirection right as well as you're doing it, and also that everything happens smoothly and naturally in the performance. So that's where I think the real performance is. The presentation then as well is really where you can win or lose in this trick. I think it's something that as a performer you can make this build up more or less. This could be a 2-minute thing, this could be a longer piece where you keep coming back to the person throughout. So that's where I see the difficulty is. It's probably a bit more complicated than you originally might think, and requires a bit more practice to make sure you get it smooth and hitting every time, but it's not overly complicated in any way. So now let's move on to Steve's questions. For those of you who watch the podcast, you know my co-host Steve. He always asks me the same questions about getting a trick. This is slightly different because he actually recommended that I should check out this trick because he thought it would suit my performance style. So it's kind of interesting. We've had a few of these discussions, but just to go through the questions is, will I do it? I'm not sure. I have been messing around with it. I will go into this a bit more in like my rating and things I don't like about it, but it's still on something on the fence. I have done it socially and that side of things, but in a professional setting I'm still unsure about it. The next question is, are you happy with your purchase? I'm happy enough with the purchase. I think it's an interesting plot, and it's a type of banknote routine, something that I'm really interested in. I like the routines and different learning new things about it. So I'm quite happy with that. I do think the price was a little high. Let me just check what the price is there quickly. $25. So the price is a bit up, and it's okay. It's not too expensive. It's not less. I think 20 might have been good for it, but who am I to say? It's like it's tricky. You can do. You get everything you need. The quality of the bag and everything that you get in the instructions in the PDF version are quite good. So I am happy with the purchase, and I like learning banknote routines or that style of routine. So it's definitely something that it adds to my knowledge base anyway, even if it's not something that I'm going to be performing regularly. Should Steve get one? I don't think it suits his character. It's something that's great. That's why he recommended it's something that I should pick up. I don't think it'd be right for him, so I wouldn't recommend for him to get one personally. And then, is there anything else like it out there? So there are the banknote routines with envelopes and similar words and gags and stuff, which are all kind of based on some of Wade Dobson stuff, and then on things you can bring into it yourself. So there are other banknote routines. If you see any of the instructions, you understand what they are. The idea of them being these little chip things, I think I haven't seen anything myself like this out there, but I'm not 100%. But there are things similar, but it's definitely something that's put together in a different way. So those are Steve's questions. So now let's move on to the frequently asked question. So the question I've been seeing about this, and people have been asking me, is like, is it poker chips? Because it's quite hard to see in the photo what you actually get. So these are what you get. So you can see they're quite thin. This is the size of the chip as well. So it's about the size of your thumb. And I think when everything's in the bag itself, it's maybe just a bit smaller than a deck of cards. So that's the amount of pocket space it will take up. So those are the real questions I'm seeing, is about the size and kind of like what these are. So as you can see, there's kind of a bit of a raised lip on each side, and then it's quite thin. But when you've six them together, it does create up a bit of space. And also, the other question I've been seeing is, do you need to use all 6 poker chips to do it? You don't. This can work with anything from 2 on up. So you don't have to use all the not poker chips, these chips. If you don't want to, I keep thinking the poker chips, but they're not like this. So you don't need to use all of them. So you can, if you want to just do it with 4 for whatever routine you want, or even if you want to do like a 50-50 or something like that, that is possible with this. So you don't need, for the routine to work, you don't need to use all 6 of them. So those are the frequently asked questions. So now let's move on to the things that I didn't like. With every product, there are things you like, things you don't like. For me, there's a few things I'm not too thrilled about with this. I like the overall what you get, but the quality is good. But if you look here on the back, you can see that the loose is really like on the chip itself has come off, but on the front of that, it is a sticker that's stuck on, and I have noticed that it's starting to come up at the edges, even with the little amount of use I've been using. So I would be worried about the stickers on the front looking tattered and worn and needing to be replaced at some stage. It's not the biggest thing, but to have to go off and get the right stickers, the right shape, print them off, put them on over and over again could be something to consider for yourselves. Also, what these actually are, I've been kind of calling them like betting chips, kind of like what you use the big blind and those sort of things as you're going through a game of poker, those sort of things, or like a board game type piece, because they're not anything really that would be easy to recognize. So they look like a prop that you have as a magician. So if you can justify it, you can. I prefer things looking a bit more natural myself than what these are, so that is a concern for me when I'm performing it. The other thing is around the actual secret move. So I'm going to talk about this in a cryptic way. So when you're doing the thing to make sure that you win, it's not silent. You can work on it and make sure it's silent, but then the movement's a bit unnatural. So there is a bit of a noise that when you're doing it that you have to think about. In most performance environments, even a banquet hall or somewhere like that, it's not a problem. If it's a bit of a more quiet environment, it is something to think about. For me, it sounded. My wife thought one of the chips actually hit off my ring as I was performing it. So like it's that sort of noise is what you're dealing with that. So that is something that, as long as the environment isn't too quiet, you should be okay. But it is something to keep an eye on, that you don't want it to be too much. And also, there is some sleight of hand that you have to do in it, and the piece, so the thing that you're doing sleight of hand with is red. So it's going to be easy to flash something where it doesn't need to be. So it could be like black or a more of a skin color type thing to try and make it blend in more, but it is like that, so it is something you have to concentrate with to make sure that you don't flash anything as you're performing. So those are the things that I don't like about it. So now let's move on to my rating. For those of you who watched the channel before and seen my reviews, I don't give a rating of a score. It's kind of how I will be using this. This is something that I'm going to continue to play with. I see it's not going into like my set at the moment because I'm not happy with the justification of what these things are, and also the handling. I just want to make sure it's right and things like that. So it's not something that I'm going to be going in right away with. I want to try and find the right moment for it. I was actually thinking of ways of using it on stage or in a parlor situation with multiple people up on stage. So I'm going to be working on that. But at the moment, it's one of those things that's going to be in my not quite drawer. Like I wouldn't say it's a bottom drawer item or anything like that. It's not terrible, but it's not something that I'm going to be bringing with me to every gig or anything like that. It's something, if the right environment comes up, I might pull it out, but at the moment I just don't feel like it's exactly what I need. For anyway, the pocket space is going to take up as well. It's not something I'm going to be doing at every group or every table, so I don't see it justification of having something that size in my pocket for maybe once a night or something like that, when there are stronger things that I could put in my pocket at that point. So that's my rating for it. It's good, not great, is kind of where I'm feeling with it. There are a few things that I'm not happy about it, but I might see if I can tweak them myself to make them a bit more, make sure that it's a bit more silent, because it's a type of piece I'd like to like really have focus on, maybe in a more of a quiet situation, to really play it up. But then there's the concerns with that and all those things. So that's my rating for Win or Lose. So now let's go on to just wrap this up. So Win or Lose by Wayne Dobson and Alan Wong. Do you have it? If you do, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Where do you see yourself if you're going to be performing this? If you have any questions about this as well, make sure you comment them down below. I'll get back to you and try to answer them as honestly as I can. Let me know, do you agree with me on any of my criticisms of this, or do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts as we go through this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a like if you found it helpful, and also check out all of our recent interviews that we've done. We just did a great interview there with Dwayne Hill, and previously with that with Lauren Barnes. Coming up next week we have Garrett Thomas, which is an incredible podcast, so make sure you check that out as well when that comes out next Thursday. So really keep it locked on the channel. There's a lot of good content coming out. We really appreciate all the people who've been subscribing, so thanks so much, and we'll see you again next time.